Hey, good evening, vinyl community. Welcome back to Lock Root headquarters. Um, I guess I'm not really ashamed to tell you that this is the second time tonight that I've done this. I was ready to upload it. It was a pretty good video too, and I deleted it. As I was copying, I'm not patient. I'm deleting and doing other things, and I did a cut instead of a copy, and it ended up deleting the entire video. And I know better than do a cut than a copy. So, we're starting over, take two. So, what I'm doing tonight is something that I didn't think I would do, and it's Give Me 10. It's kind of a... I watch Big Star 1000's videos. I enjoy him. He does a lot of Give Me 10s. And so this is just a statement that says, hey man, I watch your videos, I enjoy them, and I think it's a great idea that you do the Give Me 10s. I didn't think I would do one because I didn't think I had enough albums. I mean, I have enough albums to make tons and tons of videos, but for example, like 1971 to 1979, I don't have that type of library, so you must have one hell of a library, man. But I do have enough to do certain genres. So tonight's Give Me 10 is jazz fusion. I have well over 100 of those albums, and it's a genre that I've really been getting into lately, and so we can do that. Now, this is the 11th episode, and I've showed 17 fusion albums so far. So what I want to do is, since those are kind of out of the category, but I did show some really good ones in there, I just picked the top 5 of those. I want to show those first, and then we'll get to the Give Me 10. So here we go. And this is not part of the Give Me 10. This is just set of the 5 I've already shown. And I wanted to show this because this is my favorite jazz album, Miles Davis' Agartha. It's amazing. It's a lot of folks' favorite live album in any genre. And not much more we can say about it, except for I really need to get Pangea. I planned on getting Pangea first, but I ended up with this one. So Pangea, Live Evil, Dark Magus, all those are right. They're in my sights. I just haven't got there yet. But I have a feeling that my mind's not going to change. That'll probably continue to be my #1 jazz album. I showed this a couple weeks ago. Alice Coltrane's Universal Consciousness. By the way, that's what we're listening to right now. I love her. I mean, I know everybody likes John, and I just haven't got on the John groove yet, but Alice, I dig. I connect with her. Good music. The Art Ensemble of Chicago. Great black music, a Jackson in your house. To me, they do what music's supposed to do, is it challenges you. I mean, they're hard to, as far as fusion goes, even wild fusion, they're hard to categorize, and they keep you on your toes. That was 3. Here's number 4. Fourth Way. I love this band. I think they're a great band, and I think this is the best album by the band. This album is called Werewolf. I don't know what a lot of people think of this band, but in my explorations, I really like them. Now take it, compared to some of you, I'm just an infant. I mean, you guys blow me away. I'm watching some of your videos, and you've got, Brazilian jazz, and German jazz, Albanian jazz. I mean, all this crazy stuff that I haven't got into yet, and I can't wait to get into. I mean, there's so much fusion that was made. I mean, I've only hit the tip of the iceberg. And I can't wait to get into it. So I'm sure you guys maybe a lot of you guys may be yawning. Just okay, let's get to the next one. This is number 5. I showed this last week, and I just discovered it like maybe 10 days ago. I can't remember how I did it. Was it YouTube or something? But it's Jan Hammer, The First 7 Days. Great album. That's the great thing about exploring and not listening to the same stuff over and over again, is stuff you find. It's so good. Okay, give me 10. The first one, Turs Ripdal, Waves. You know, while I was putting this together, it's kind of interesting, you guys that do the Gimme 10s. I mean, it's not easy. You don't just flip through 10 of them and bring them out. I mean, I'm sure you're doing a lot of research all week trying to figure out, and you're listening to these things and really working on which ones you're going to do. So this was probably in and out of my stack probably about 15 times. And I don't know, I like it. He tears it up on guitar. It's kind of mellow. To me, it's rainy day music. I've seen on certain blogs where they say that the music is a lot more intense than the album cover, like it's more sunny day music. I disagree. I don't see this on a lot of lists. Lenny White, I wanted to do some exploring of him, and I thought this album cover looked really cool, so I picked it up. He's a jazz drummer and a great band leader. And one of the things I'm finding out as I go more and more into jazz is, and I could be wrong here, I mean, if there's any good books I should read on the fusion era, point them out. Please leave me a comment, but it doesn't seem like there's a lot of egos. These guys let each other do their thing, and they do it good. And Lenny White was one of them. He made this cool little science fiction album called Lenny White Presents The Adventures of the Astro Pirates, put a little science fiction theme on it, and had a comic book drawings and a little story that went along with it. But it's not just him drumming, it's everybody doing their thing that makes this a great album. And as the band leader, you know, he's in control of the music. And, you know, he could have bogarted the drums and said, that's it, I'm just going to take control and drum, and you're just going to hear me the whole time. But he didn't. He made a good album. Donald Byrd, Ethiopian Nights. When I started looking into him, everybody was saying, get Electric Bird. I listened to it on YouTube. I listen to all my stuff on YouTube before I go out and buy it. And I wasn't too terribly impressed. I was looking for something a little bit more trippy, a little bit more cosmic. And I hadn't heard this one, but I walked into one of my local overpriced record stores one day, and there it was sitting there in the wild. And they wanted a little bit too much for it, for its condition, but you know, I walked around, thought about it, picked up about 5 more albums, put those back, picked this one up, brought it home, and I listened to it for 4 days straight. Great album. I mean, he's just all over the place. What a great musician. If you don't have it or haven't heard it, listen to it. Sorry, there's a glare. I have a light right above me. And the cover's seen better days. This was another YouTube find. It was on one of those 50 mixes. You know, there are 50 videos. And so I don't know what video I was on, but I was listening for a while, and then all of a sudden I listened to something, and it was super kind of hyperactive and rocking and just blowing me away. And I looked it up, and it was Mr. Henderson here, Eddie Henderson, Sunburst, and I loved it. I listened to it several times and finally tracked down a copy on Discogs. Here we go. hard to have a Gimme 10 fusion without Mr. Hancock, Herbie. This is one of the top of my stacks here. This is very experimental. I think in 1971, I could be wrong. And I know I should be telling everybody what the labels are because everybody wants to know whether it's Blue Note or ECM, but you know, he was starting to experiment with, this is Warner Brothers. I don't know if it's a reissue or what, but he was starting to experiment with synthesizers. And they brought a Moog in, they brought somebody in, I can't remember his name, and to just set it up. And he was playing around with it, and they kept him in the band. Who was it? Yeah, it was Patrick Gleason is who it was. And it's like, I don't know if I just said this, but as far as trippiness and out there music, I would compare this album as something close to Art Ensemble of Chicago. It's because, you know, you think you're going to get into a nice song, you know, it plays around with the electronics, and then you get a tune, and then it just takes a left turn off into outer space someplace. So it's not quite as challenging as Art Ensemble. As a matter of fact, it's quite a nice listen. But this is great if you haven't listened to it. And here's what I've never seen in anybody's list. And when I picked it up, what attracted me was I thought it was a space rock album. The planets, you've got the stylus there, the needle, the record, you know, all the cables going to the stylus. I mean, it's obviously a record here, and it's basically saying, hey, this is space rock music, all the planets. And I listened to it on YouTube and almost just ignored the fact that it was jazzy. I just wanted it to be space rock so bad that that's what I heard. But when I got it home, I ordered it off Discogs. I got it home and I started realizing that this is a fusion album and it's a good one. And it really should be talked about a lot more often than it is, because front to back, top to bottom, Visitor 2035, this is a fusion album. If you get a chance, or if you've never heard it, listen to it. I'm sure a lot of you aficionados, a lot of you guys that are really into jazz will think that this is just okay, but it's worth a listen. I like it. It gets a lot of spins. It's one of my favorite ones. When you talk about a band leader, Larry Young, Lawrence of Newark. You know, he played the organ, and you know, he wasn't all over the place on top of it during this album. I think this is 1973. He died in 78. He died a young man. I think he was born in 1940, so it made him like 38. Just, you know, we missed a lot with him dying so young, but he had this technique where you can hear him in there, and he kind of lets the notes linger a little bit, and then he comes back and he'll play a few notes and they kind of linger. It's just a different way of playing the organ. He's all over it, but this is one of the greater jazz fusion albums. And it's because of him. It's, you know, he holds back when he needs to, and he's up front when he needs to be as well. And he lets his band do a lot of stuff for him. Great band leader. I'm just discovering there's not a lot of egos. Those guys are professionals, and they get the job done. They know who's good and get them hired. This is great. Billy Cobham, recorded live in Europe. Shabazz. Spectre gets a lot of attention. It gets attention. It's called Jazz for Prog Heads because it's kind of progressive. But as far as for rocking out drumming performance goes, I think this is the better album. Just an opinion. I'm not sure where it was recorded. Okay, it says Montreux Music. I should have known because everything is recorded at Montreux, and some of it is recorded at the Rainbow Theatre in London. And this was in 1974. He's got several good albums out in the early 70s. Some I'm hearing are lukewarm, and some are I'm hearing are great, like Spectrum and this one. But I've got 4 or 5 of his albums, and they're all fantastic. So, at least if you stay in the early to mid 70s range, I mean, you can't go wrong with Billy Cobham. And here she is again. Miss Alice Coltrane. I love her. I don't have all of her albums yet. I've got several. I think I got 3 or 4 where she's a leader. And but I'm still looking. Every time I find one that I can afford, I pick one up. This was a fight between this one and it was another one with her and Pharaoh Sanders. The Piod, something like that. I'm always messing up. I'm always saying the wrong titles and stuff. So it's cool. It's, if you want to bash me, go ahead. And this one's called Journey to, and here we go. I'm gonna mess this one up. Journey in Rosanna Dana. Journey in Satchidananda, featuring Pharaoh Sanders. So, I listened to both of those a lot this week, trying to figure out what I was going to put in, because I knew she was going in to the top 2, because this is number 9. And this has a Middle Eastern buzz that goes all the way through it. I'm not sure what instrument it is, but it's there from start to finish. It could be Pharaoh and his saxophone, but it's a real nice, calming instrument. Or the other one, it's nice too, but it's missing this element that I like about this album. And when I see lists about Alice, I'm always seeing this at the top, and that might be right. Why? Now, Universal Consciousness, like I had said before, is my favorite one. That's what we're listening to right now. I just like it better, and I don't see that on the top of a lot of lists. But I'm different too. You know, I wouldn't call myself a jazz head, even though I'm getting better. I'm more of a space rocker. Or the out there type stuff. You know, give me something trippy that will blow my mind. Now this album, this is number 10. This is what did it for me. This is the one, I was digging through some bins. I had already had some jazz, Return to Forever, and some Hancock, and maybe some Miles Davis. I know I had some other report. And, you know, in my opinion, there's not a lot of difference between good space rock and good improvisational jazz. So, you know, I'm going to have both in my collection. They both take you to different places, and then they're, I don't know, they just sound good. But this album here that I'm about to show you, I'd never even heard of before. I'd never even heard of the man. But the album cover did it for me. And when I listened to it, that was it. I had to keep exploring, and I haven't stopped since. This was about 3 or 4 years ago. And this is Pharaoh Sanders' Karma. This is the most awesome album cover. It's just him sitting in some type of like a lotus position, meditation. It's got the 60s vibe. This is 1969. You got the lights, and I mean, it's just a beautiful album cover. I had to buy it. I didn't even know it was jazz, man. I just bought it. I mean, you open that up, look at this, the font. So when I got it home, and of course, you know, I was in the store, it was an antique mall, and I read the lyrics right there. The creator has a master plan, and I seen that each side is about 20 minutes long, and I'm a sucker for that. And this is everything that I ever would have wanted in an album, and I listened to it a lot, and I aim to find albums like this. As far as jazz or space rock or any type of progressive, trippy acid rock. Like I said, this might be number 2 on my scale of fine jazz fusion album. Agartha number 1, this could be number 2. And as you notice, I didn't mention Bitches Brew, but it's up there too. I didn't mention that because a lot of folks have it, and it's in their list. I kind of wanted to list some stuff that maybe you hadn't heard before, or that was kind of off the beaten path. Well, that's it. That was my Gimme 10 for Jazz Fusion. I hope you enjoyed it. I think I might do another one, and if I do, it'll probably be electronic music, because I have a lot of electronics, or possibly space rock. It was fun. It was different than what I normally do, because I had to actually work. Normally I just whatever I'm listening to, you throw it in a pile and talk about it. But I wanted to pick something good for you guys to chew on. So, but hey, have a great week. It's always fun to talk to you, and we'll catch you next time from Lock Grooves. We'll see ya.